Well, the bottom line is for us as a people, when we think about our experiences and what we do with each other, when you think about what's going on in Chicago and here in New York, and how we treat each other, there is a story that's told about the crabs in the basket. And the crabs in the basket, basically the outcome is that every time a black person is successful, black folk try to bring them down. And it's called crabs in a basket because they have found that when they grab crabs, put them in a basket, then as one crab is trying to come out the basket, the other crab will pull them back down. That's the syndrome. Yeah. But the other reality of it is that those crabs have been taken out of their natural environment. And being taken out of their natural environment, many times they're going to act unnaturally. Because when you take crabs and they are in their own natural environment in the water, they in fact are willing to allow others to get on their back in order for them to rise above. And when the one that's above gets what it needs, it then will come back down and come up underneath in order to let the other ones pull them up. So in their natural environment, crabs help each other. Out of their natural environment, they're acting unnaturally. They'll do things that they normally do not do. Right. So it becomes important that we understand this story. It is not to excuse. It is not in any way to make it seem better or worse. It is just for us to understand that if we should return back to our natural environment to conduct ourselves the way we did when we were amongst ourselves, we probably, if not almost guaranteed, would act differently. We would try to help each other instead of trying to pull each other down. So that's the story I try to tell, just to always keep in our mind, because one thing that we have to do as a people is we have to forgive ourselves. We have to understand what we've been through. Right. We have to properly analyze it. We cannot give excuses, but we can have reasons for how we act. And I think that what we need to do is to start to look at that, to build the type of nation that we need. And for that, I tell the story of the crabs in the basket when they're in their unnatural setting and how they conduct themselves when they're in their natural setting. Right.
And that's a great analogy for what we see today around the neighborhoods and what's going on with the Eric Garner case and everything.
And us, the violence that we put on each other, the way in which we treat our women, the way in which we treat ourselves, the way we talk to each other, all of these things are symptoms of us being in an unnatural environment. Now, if all of us were to go back and we might do some stuff that wouldn't be appropriate. I'm not saying that each and every one of us that it's a perfect answer, but I'm saying that it probably would change the way in which we are living amongst ourselves.
All right, my friend George over here, he has would you say it's a theory or about parasites and how they actually...
about how basically parasites can disrupt the neural network activity and create a dysfunction, but it also takes place on a telepathic level, so that the aspects of ourselves that would allow us to flock like birds is under attack, and this is why we're functioning in an unnatural state, which is, like the brother explained, like the crabs in a basket, right? But this is in our unnatural state. So what I'm trying to do is to bring our natural state together via the science that we've been pretty much indoctrinated into, but also by reaching a place within the heart that can bring us all together based on that feeling that we have deep down within us that a lot of us have denied. And the parasite makes it very easy to deny that feeling. So we can look at it from a scientific perspective and say it reduces the charge within your body. So like nitrogen is inert, and so when you have a lot of nitrogen in your body or anything that fixes nitrogen into ammonia in your body, it'll replace the hydrating fluids and reduce your conductivity. But when we feel the right things and when we feel the right environment, we start to come alive, and it's natural. So it doesn't have to be articulated through scientific jargon. It's a feel, and you can see it. And we need to be able to open our eyes and be realistic about the function and dysfunction that we're experiencing as people, and come together and then check and balance ourselves. And I'm here as a judge to help bring those checks and balances, but from the heart, because I've tapped into the spirit, and the spirit is actively living through me, and this is what active melanin is all about.
And you know what's interesting when you talk about the parasite, there's a book I recommend people read. It's called Parasite Rex by Carl Zimmer, C-A-R-L-Z-I-M-M-E-R, and it talks about the life system of a parasite. It talks about the history of the parasite and what the parasite actually does when it gets into the host's body. It can literally make the host believe its purpose is for the parasite to feed off of it.
And the nature of the parasite, it keeps us distant from our creative force, but it's a lesson that we should learn to value the depth of our experience. So the parasite should be balanced, like the light and the dark, and we need to respect and love the parasite so that we can respect and love ourselves, and that is when we will truly have the synergy needed in order to uplift and make the most out of this, the nature of this situation. Yeah, that's what's going on.
Yes, everything in nature has its place. Even if we perceive it to be a curse, it's a blessing. Because as our brother George said, it really does teach us a lesson. And once we understand the way of the parasite, we then understand the power of the host and why the parasite would be living off of us. And without that balance, we would not know that we're that great, that we actually feed into the life of other organisms. And that's the world we're living in today.